Do you live ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's Hoist the Colors, 3 days out from East Carolina's home opener against the Campbell Fighting Camels. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X, as we always are. The comment sections are open. If you got a question, comment, concern, want to talk about anything, the chat is open, especially for the next 30 minutes where it'll be myself and Philip Pilkinen who's producing today's program. As always, subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify to get the replay of this show. Download the IBX Media app as well to take us on the go. Check us out on YouTube as well, 94.3 The Game, our YouTube channel. Closing in on 2,000 subscribers. We launched that when this show launched a couple years ago. It's really grown quickly, so make sure if you want to follow our live chat, YouTube, probably the best way to do it. Obviously, you can hear us on radio and in other areas as well. All right, later in the show today, we're going to visit with Chris Hemeyer, Campbell Play-by-Play voice, and an administrator over with the Fighting Camels. Campbell coming off a season-opening loss to Rhode Island, but they played pretty well. We'll get into that, what to expect from Campbell and more around 12:30. Chris will join us via the phone, and we'll talk with him about ECU's home opening opponent. But to start today, we are just 1 day away from the official start of the NFL season, and all the teams are in action this week. And that means it's time to kind of reset the table a little bit, really update you on where ECU players are in the National Football League. It's not the deepest list that we've ever seen. We'll get into some of the names here in a minute, but it also gives us an excuse to talk about the NFL as we'll branch off from not only what to expect from ECU players and look towards some of these teams' expectations for them. So looking forward to talking some NFL. Look, we talked a lot of ECU, NC State. If you guys want to touch on that, we can continue to do that, talk Campbell, but it's time to also talk some NFL, Philip.
I like how we're cheating here. We're keeping it ECU-centric, but we're talking NFL because we both want to. We've both been I think secretly, we haven't admitted it yet to each other, but we've been wanting to talk NFL, but we won't come out and say it because we know that we're supposed to talk ECU. And not that we don't like talking ECU, but it's kind of okay, it's finally here, baby.
It's a convenient excuse. And no, we're not going to go on if it really was the Stephen Igo show, I could just talk about the Denver Broncos for the next hour, but I'm not going to do that because it is Hoist the Colors.
We would get no viewers.
Exactly. I mean, your roommate might tune in.
Thomas would tune in, and I know two other people in Greenville.
And that's about it. We'll talk some Panthers as well. We do have a couple questions in the chat we'll address here quickly before we start looking around ECU in the pros. We also need to do an update at some point on MLB. Gavin Williams quietly having a really good season. He shut down the Mariners this past weekend. All right, Lane Smith says, what score on Saturday between ECU and Campbell would we be happy with? So what score? We still don't have a line that'll probably come out Thursday or Friday. What score would Philip Pilkington be happy with? Or is it more the eye test?
I mean, it's more the eye test, but I'm not going to cop out of Lane's question. I would like to see the starters not give up more than one scoring drive, whether that be a touchdown or a field goal. And I would like the reserves and their amount of time on the field, which will be a quarter and a half, hopefully, not give up more than one scoring drive. So nothing more than 14. And I would like for us to average 10-point score. So 40 plus and 14 or less would make me happy.
I was going to say hold Campbell to less than 20 and score more than 40, and I think you're happy. I mean, I would expect the line to be close to 28, 30 points just based on many of these FCS games. I do think Campbell is much improved over last year. I think they present a little bit of some challenges, which we'll get into here with Chris Hemeyer in a little bit. Two-quarterback system. Still some unknown early in the season. A couple former ECU players that may know a little bit about the Pirates as well. But at the end of the day, ECU, this is a game they should win. I think they will win. And honestly, as long as they just pass the eye test, I'm happy. But certainly a score 40-14, I'm taking. and run them with it. So, again, you don't want to show too much, too, in this game, ideally, with Coastal and BYU on the horizon. Kenny Curlin says 40-plus, hold Campbell to 10. A few years ago, it was 49-10 in 2022. I think ECU would take a repeat of that. Corsair says just win, baby. He also says, based on last week's scores, I think other than BYU and Tulane, the Pirates have a chance to be in every remaining game. I think they have a chance to be in those games, too. I mean, I was for a second thinking about doing a segment today where we looked at, week one, how that impacted our thoughts going forward. And I really feel like, for me personally, outside of maybe the Army game and Temple maybe looking a little bit tougher than I thought, it's still, I think ECU will have a shot in every game. I do think there'll be dogs to BYU and Tulane, but I think they'll have a chance to win the game. No game scares me the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, like you said, you'll be in every game. Are there games that maybe, like you said, we feel differently about, whether it be positive or negative? Sure. Things are going to move throughout the season, but I still don't think I'm going to go into any game feeling like, got to watch this one today. We know the outcome. This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to wake up on a Saturday or a Thursday morning and feel that way.
All right, let's get into East Carolina players in the NFL. Again, if you got more questions, drop it. We'll get to it in our next segment and throughout the show. So right now, surprisingly, there's only 4 players on 53-man rosters and really 3 active, as Savone Rebel is currently on the non-football injury list. I guess that's because he suffered the injury in college. I don't really understand. I guess it has to happen with the team. Either way, he is down the first 4 weeks. We'll get into his circumstance here in a minute. You've got Jaquan McMillan with the Denver Broncos, Keaton Mitchell with the Ravens, Zay Jones still going strong with the Arizona Cardinals. Let's start with the most solidified guy, and honestly, it is Jaquan McMillan. He has established himself, and I'm not just saying this as because I'm a Broncos fan, even with the draft pick of Jahdae Barron, like he is arguably the best nickel cornerback in the NFL. And I'm sure you could debate that in a variety of ways, but he's had a really good run since being an undrafted free agent in 2022. Got a shot in the last game of that season and really has solidified himself ever since as a go-to guy. Had a little bit of a down year last year in terms of coverage numbers. Honestly, a lot of that had to do with the fact that teams kind of picked on him when he was on the field in the run game because he is a smaller corner. But as far as pass coverage, he gets a lot of targets. He's playing on the same team as the reigning defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain. And so he's going to get picked on a little bit, but he holds his own as well. 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions last year, allowed 3 touchdowns, and goes into the year, Phillip, as the starting nickel, although Jahdae Barron, I assume, will play a lot too. But, really your most established guy is Jaquan McMillan at this point.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how that all works out, right? You mentioned Jahdae Barron get drafted. Obviously, Riley Moss is a big part of that defense as well. And there's going to have to be an odd man out on every play, right? Theoretically. I mean, obviously, long down and distance might all 4 be on the field. But, I think this is also one of those positions where in that slot corner where it can be circumstantial. We see it with East Carolina, and also it's a place you don't mind rotating a little bit. So I think as long as he's not out there getting beat, he should be in a position to consistently stay on the field. I was a little worried, not going to lie, after that draft pick, especially the first round there of Jahdae Barron when, again, he's not taking PS2 spot. Riley Moss is a solid corner, not the best one on the team or the best one in the league by any means, but yeah, I think there's some opportunities there. And the other thing is Barron can play inside or out. Jaquan is going to be solely inside. Looks like Riley Moss will be solely outside. So Barron could take some reps from Jaquan, but he could also take some reps out there as the number 2 guy as well.
I think long-term Denver would like for Barron to take that second corner spot outside. And, they've even talked about bumping Riley Moss inside. But Jaquan, I believe, is going into a free agent year. He was an exclusive rights free agent this year. Denver obviously chose to bring him back. And, at first when they drafted Jahdae Barron, I was curious, would they try to trade him? But there was never a doubt, listening to Sean Payton, like they value DB depth. And let's be honest, too, Phillip, it's a 17-game season. And one of the things that Jaquan has been really good at is, look, your best your best ability is availability, and he has not missed any time at all, hardly, when it comes to just playing. And like that is a critical aspect of being and lasting in the NFL. If you post every week, that's a big deal, and I think like that kind of gets overlooked sometimes. And yeah, Jaquan, he is not the biggest corner, but he's a playmaker. He only played 14 snaps in the preseason, but he had a pick, he had a pass breakup, he had a really good offseason. So that's the thing, too. Even if he doesn't start the season playing the most snaps, I think by the end of the year he'll still be one of their best corners or best defensive backs.
Well, only playing this day and time, you only play 14 snaps in the preseason. Means they're probably thinking you're going to play a lot in the regular season. I think he did have one play where he had a bad coverage. I can't remember if he let up a touchdown or if it was just a long
150-yard catch.
Yeah, it was just like, dang, that was Jaquan. It was against the 49ers, I think, early in that game. But, yeah, I still think he's going to be a vital part of Denver's defense. And like you said, I mean, between the four of them, somebody's going to get nicked, here or there and miss a game or two.
All right, Denver will host Cam Ward, the number 1 overall draft pick in Week 1, Titans-Broncos. They're the biggest favorite, 8.5-point favorite spread going to Week 1. Outside of Eagles-Cowboys, which we can talk about too. We already got some chat members going off on that.
I'm guessing Lane's one of those chat members.
He said Eagles by 1 million. Kenny Curlins is saying that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win. Cowboys will shock the Eagles Thursday night. It's our year until it isn't. Go Cowboys. Good luck, Kenny.
Who are you going to hand the ball to, Kenny? That's what I want to know.
That's and the Cowboys seem to always get beat up. Speaking of availability, injuries, we'll see if they can stay somewhat healthy this year. I'm curious. I know how I feel about Denver. You're kind of tied into Denver. Circling this back to Jaquan, the Broncos were a playoff team last year. Do you think Denver's a viable contender in the AFC, or what is your outsider/somewhat insider take on the Denver Broncos and looking at Jaquan McMillan, his chances of potentially winning at a high level as a team this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, should they be in the playoff conversation? Absolutely. It's a little tough when you're a first-year playoff team. You don't know if you're going to back that up the following year. I think they're going to be solid. They have retained a lot of guys. I love you guys up front, both offensively and defensively. I think your defensive line, and Allen and Benito maybe don't get enough credit nationally that they deserve. However, do I think they're a contender to go to the Super Bowl? No, they're not at the same level as Kansas City, as Baltimore, and as Buffalo. And honestly, right now, until somebody goes out there and keeps Kansas City from going, it's kind of Kansas City and everybody else. So I know people get here tired of hearing about them, but it's just the truth. It is what it is. So can you guys get there? Yes, but I think you're going to have to make leaps and bounds improvement in order to get there. Now, with that being said, do I think that Denver can make the playoffs and make some noise? Yes, I think they can. But the AFC's tough, man.
It is loaded.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati was not in the playoffs a year ago. You would expect them to improve just a hair on defense, and that's all it's going to take to improve for them to get just sneak into the playoffs. That was maybe the worst defense since like the 2008 Lions.
I've got to say, man, I was looking over some NFL stuff this morning. The NFC is just, I mean, it's a snooze fest compared to the AFC.
Yeah.
It is. Like, honestly.
It's like the West in basketball.
Yeah.
Instead of the East.
It's not out of the realm of possibility if the Panthers win the division, they could be like the 3 seed. I mean, it's possible.
Well, the Panthers could win the division with 7 wins. The division's so darn.
But the NFC West is uninspiring, too. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of one of those AFC contenders, the Baltimore Ravens, that is home to Keaton Mitchell. And Keaton Mitchell had the devastating knee-leg injury towards the end of the 2023 season. I don't think people realize how explosive he was. Now, look, he benefits from being a part of the same backfield as Lamar Jackson, but that season, as an undrafted rookie, 47 attempts, 396 yards. He averaged 8.4 yards per carry in the NFL. I mean, that is just ridiculous. 9 catches, 93 yards. Last year just did not look like the same guy at all. Now, he didn't get a ton of run. He had 15 attempts, 30 yards. And he had I want to say he almost tore like every ligament in his knee. I can't remember the exact injury. I don't know if you do, Phil, but one of those things where like it typically takes 2 years to come back from an injury like that. And this preseason, we saw him look really good. He played again, just 17 snaps, but in that time, forced 5 missed tackles, had a 23-yarder, had a 31-yarder, elite run grade per Pro Football Focus. So Keaton Mitchell, what are your expectations for Keaton going into 2025?
Yeah, the tough thing is they're not a team who's going to run a 1A and a 1B back. They've got their number one, of course, and that's Derrick Henry. So he's fighting for their second spot with Justice Hill. Justice Hill is an established veteran in this league, and he's well-liked in Baltimore. With that being said, you can tell by watching the Ravens preseason broadcast that they are starting to realize the explosiveness of Keaton Mitchell. So I think if he can get back to himself, he will earn some touches there over Justice Hill. But, again, I think Hill's going to continue to be used. They really like him there. Obviously, Derrick Henry is going to be your workhorse back. I think this is more of a tryout, in my opinion, for him this season to go somewhere else or, be the guy once Derrick Henry leaves, just because I don't see him molding in the current situation. I wouldn't see anyone really molding into a 1B back to Derrick Henry just because he is the kind of the one true guy right now in the NFL that it feels like he is the number one featured back and there isn't a number two guy.
Yeah, Derrick Henry, now 31. Will he ever slow down? He seems to be getting stronger with age, but this is typically the age a back slows down. If he still is the workhorse, it's going to be hard for Keaton to get snaps, but I do think he will get carries. He did also get reps as a kick returner in the preseason. I would expect him to be back in that capacity as he was last year as well. And just to have Justice Hill, he's just a solid veteran back, good pass protector, good in the receiving game. But imagine just having the luxury of a potentially healthy Keaton Mitchell as your third back to just throw out there and be in the same backfield with Lamar Jackson is just it speaks to the Ravens. I think they are clearly, as Philip said earlier, one of the best teams in the AFC along with Buffalo and Kansas City. Those are kind of your top tier there, and then it trickles down. So look, for Keaton Mitchell, it's all about staying healthy. As Kenny Curlin says in the chat, if Keaton can stay healthy, it could be a nice season for him. I think he'll get his run early. The Ravens do open the season this weekend, as does the rest of the league. I'm scrolling through the schedule trying to find it, and they play Sunday Night Football at Buffalo. Over under 4.5 carries. No, 3.5 carries for Keaton Mitchell in that game.
Go under.
Under.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football, Ravens-Bills. I'm going to say he gets 5 carries and rips off a long one.
I hope you're right.
I would love to see it. All right, let's get a break in. We've got some questions in the chat we'll get to on the other side. We'll also look at the two other Pirates in the league as well. Zay Jones, what should we expect from Savone Revel this year? Can he get healthy? Also, some guys recently cut. And Linval Joseph. Could he potentially play another season in the NFL? We'll break that down on the other side. This is Hoist the Colors.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in Hoist the Colors. Enjoyable stuff here. We're talking some NFL, but also in general talking about Pirates in the NFL, Pirates in the pros. We got some comments we'll get to, but right now we're running down. We hit on Jaquan McMillan and Keaton Mitchell, what to expect from them going into the 2025 season. The NFL season kicks off this week. It'll start Thursday with the Cowboys and defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Let's continue on. Isaiah Jones, has quietly put together a really solid career as well. He's never really been the number one target anywhere, and he, of course, dealt with some off-the-field stuff. But you look over his career, he's played 8 years, 115 games. He's had 295 catches, over 3,000 yards in the league with 18 touchdowns. He's going into year 2 with the Arizona Cardinals. Again, he won't be a number 1 or number 2 guy there necessarily, but I was listening to they actually did the what's it called, the preseason scrimmages. I forget the official term for it, but they did it with Denver, where they did the week practice.
Joint practice.
Yeah, joint practices. There you go. And, Zay was making a ton of plays against a Denver secondary we had talked about. He actually made some plays against Jaquan in practice, and it's one of the best secondaries in the league. So he still has something left in the tank. I don't know exactly what to expect from him this year. I don't think he's like a fantasy option, but I just think he's like probably a reliable number 3, number 4 in Arizona. So Zay Jones, now 30 years old, going into year 9. What are your expectations for Zay in Arizona?
To become a vital part of the offense. If you look at the receiver depth chart right now, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the number 1 guy in that room. We know that. But when you look at the rest of it, right now they have Michael Wilson listed as the other outside receiver, and Zay is the starting slot. And when you look at the other 2 guys on the roster right now, Xavier Weaver and Greg Dortch, I don't even know who the heck those guys are. So those are the 5 that made the roster. Now, one of these kids could come out, and that's what they are. I mean, one of them's a undrafted free agent from last year. Another one got picked up from San Francisco. They could come out and take Zay from his spot, of course. You never know. But at the end of the day, right now, teams are going to double-team Marvin Harrison Jr. in that room, and a lot of times that forces there to be one less dude in the slot helping out with that slot receiver. So it's a big opportunity for him to be a vital part of the offense, drive in and drive out.
Zay's best year from a production standpoint came a couple years ago, 2022. He had 82 catches for the Jags, 823 yards in that season. So hopefully we'll see more of an impact this year from Isaiah Jones. That's what I used to call him, what I knew him as before he changed his name to Zay going into his senior year at ECU. But again, he's had a solid career, has gotten some pretty big contracts, so we'll see what type of – and I don't know about the Cardinals, man. They're just like Kyler Murray, you just don't know what you're going to get from week to week from him. I don't know what to make of that franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing is like if the new Call of Duty game drops, he's probably going to be doing that instead of watching film. So I kind of wish the Panthers got him. It was early to mid-November when Call of Duty comes out. Unfortunately, they got to play in week 2. So, Murray, it's weird.
They'll just have random games where he's like unbelievable, though.
I know. He'll like run around back there sometimes he looks like a little ant, just like squirming around, and then all of a sudden he just like throws this Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary dot, but he doesn't throw it at the end of the game. He throws it like midway through the first quarter on like 2nd and 2. And then it's like, oh my goodness. And in some games it's like, should this guy really be a starter or just like a really good backup?
Yeah, it's a weird situation there. I've got him in fantasies, but I often have him on the bench in my Dynasty League. All right, Savone Revel. I think if he was 100% healthy, he would be a starting corner for the Dallas Cowboys, at least number 3 in line at outside cornerback. They've got Trayvon Diggs, Kahir Elam. After that, it's not looking good for their secondary. They're kind of banged up already. But he just did not look comfortable in his preseason videos. I mean, I have not been there, obviously. I'm not seeing it firsthand. He is on the reserve list where he cannot compete in a game for the first 4 weeks of the season. I think that's the right thing based on what we saw. And we talked about it a minute ago with Keaton. Sometimes it takes 2 years to come back from these big knee injuries, especially at a position that requires a lot of cutting, dynamic movement. And so my expectations are limited for Savone this year. I am hoping for the best. I do think he'll be a great player if they can stay patient with him, allow him to come back the right way. But just hope he gets some experience this year. And then honestly, for me personally, I'm hoping 2026 is his breakout year.
Yeah, you hope so, right? Like you said, you're not really fully back until your second year back. So as long as he can just get some burn in games, look, I don't think they're going to give up on this kid. And maybe Dallas does, but I don't think the league will. This is a young man who should have been a first-round draft pick if he doesn't have that injury. So he's got first-round talent. I mean, obviously, if he goes out there and just never fully recovers, I think that would be the only thing that would keep him. But, knock on wood, we're living in 2025 right now. Who hasn't torn their ACL at this point in the NFL? I know it sounds crazy, but it's almost like who hasn't had Tommy John as a pitcher, right? It's almost better to get it over with and just have it done and hope that you can come back and be what you used to be. So, again, like you said, not huge expectations this year, but no reason that he doesn't progress as a starting cornerback and a force to be reckoned with, in the future.
All right, those are the guys on 53-man or active rosters or on reserve lists, as in Savone's case. Recently cut players, Julius Wood had a pretty good preseason for the Tennessee Titans, but he was not re-signed to the practice squad, somewhat surprisingly. Now, I was bullish on Julius Wood coming out of college. I thought he was just a football player. I knew he didn't test extremely well, but he was on the path. He was with the Cowboys. Then he signed with the Titans, made their 53-man. He was playing some special teams, and then he got suspended last year for the PEDs. Still has a game to serve on that suspension. I do wonder how much that is lingering. Will he re-sign with the practice squad and miss that final game and then move on? But, he was to me trending positively until that suspension. I just hate it. We talked about it during the break. You can't afford, as an undrafted guy, these lapses, or you can get past pretty easily.
Yeah, especially when you look at the outside positions, right? The skill positions, because there's just a new wave of skill guys coming up. I mean, you don't want to do it as a lineman, but there's only so many good linemen, in the league. But when you're one of these outside guys, they'll just pass you up for the next guy who's just that 1 year younger, that guy they can pay that much little less money to. It's unfortunate because, like you said, he does come across as just a football player, right? And he even says it, his attitude. He's like, yeah, I'm not the most athletic guy, not going to be the most skilled, but he just wants to play ball. He's got the attitude of a guy who's just there to do it, have fun, be successful, and you hope with his character. And look, I've never been to practice with him, but we've met him 10, 12 times. We can vouch for his character. I think you hope that'll help him in the future because I think he's a great young man, and I think if football doesn't work out for him, unfortunately, he will go somewhere in life.
All right, a few more things here. We got to get a break in, get to Chris Hemeyer. But Rajay Harris, Parker Moore, Winston Wright, they all spent time in a mini camp. Winston Wright actually signed with the Cleveland Browns, but then was cut 9 days later on August 4th, earlier this preseason. We did have a comment from Robert, says, doesn't the fact that Rajay is solid in all aspects, including special teams, valuable enough to make him a practice squad guy? Look, I mean, if me and Philip could do it, we both think he's a practice squad caliber player, if not an NFL caliber player, but running back, it's just hard to make it, Philip. And I think most of these guys are looking at hopefully getting on in the UFL and hopefully working their way up from there.
Yeah, you hope so. It's so tough. It's weird because backs get banged up. You think they would keep more, but really teams keep 3, and then they keep 1 on the practice squad, and that kind of is what it is. The unfortunate thing with Rajay, yeah, he's got great top-end speed. It takes him 15 yards to get there. It is what it is. There's a lot of good running backs.
And the other guy you just got to keep an eye on, Linval Joseph, who has quietly had arguably the best career from a former ECU player in NFL history. Now, you look at some of the raw numbers, and the approximate value is right up there with Chris Johnson, Ernest Biner, Robert Jones. Linville has played 15 years in the NFL. He has a Super Bowl ring. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler. The last 3 years, he has signed with a contender. Dallas last year, Buffalo, Philly the midseason before that. Now he's going into year 37 season, age 37 season, so I don't know how much value he has at this point in time, but he's just a consistent run-stopping defensive tackle, and you could see his name pop up maybe here in a couple weeks if a contending team needs some extra depth there. So keep an eye on Linville Joseph. He's been just tremendous since going in the second round years ago out of East Carolina. All right, there is your ECU in the NFL report, what to expect. We'll try and touch more on Justin Hardy in the CFL, Tyler Snead as well in the coming days too if we have time. But let's get a break in. We'll switch gears when we come back. We'll talk with Chris Hemeyer, Campbell Play-by-Play voice, and preview this weekend's game.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
It'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff, Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, East Carolina and Campbell this weekend, Pirates home opener. These two teams met in 2022. We'll see what this year holds. Campbell coming off a tough but competitive season opening loss to number 9 Rhode Island last weekend. We're going to visit now with Chris Hemeyer, the play-by-play voice over at Campbell. He was with us during the spring/summer to take an early look at Campbell. Now we at least know a little bit more about these two teams. Chris joins us over the phone now. Chris, I know you've been making the rounds through ECU Media this week previewing this game, so appreciate the time. And are you looking forward to returning to Greenville?
I certainly am, and Stephen, thank you so much for having me on. a couple of different things. One, when you go from FCS games, and look, there's a lot of coverage, especially for the FCS teams that are in the CAA that have been around for 50, 75, or literally 130 years. It was the 130th year of Rhode Island football when we were up there. But, man, you forget how much coverage an FBS team gets, and especially an FBS team in Greenville, North Carolina, that has such a tradition and such a strong fan base, and a place where I lived for the first 11 years of my life out here in North Carolina. So it is awesome to be able to talk to so many old friends, so many new friends, and it also tells you what a great place you guys are at in Greenville, North Carolina, because, look, there are a lot of guys. I first started working for Brian North at WCTI TV 12. He's still there. I was in the market when Brian Meador and Brian Bailey were there, and they're still there, and so many great friends. So it's always fun to come up there.
Well, awesome to have you back in town this weekend, and awesome to have this game. Chris Hemeyer to talk about. He's the play-by-play voice for Campbell. Also works with their administration on the athletic side as well. So let's talk just about the opening game for Campbell. We hit on it when we had you on back in the summer, man. Their schedule was pretty brutal, not only with the ECU and the NC State coming down the line, but the opener at Rhode Island was extremely tough, and they had the lead going to the fourth quarter. So just what were some of your takeaways coming out of that game that ended in a 31-20 Rhode Island victory?
So many positives, Stephen. You said they were leading going into the fourth quarter. They took the lead at the end of the first quarter, led through the second quarter, led at halftime, led in the third quarter, had a lead up to 10 at one time. And that's against a Rhode Island team that on the offensive side of the ball, and particularly the offensive line, is the most experienced offensive line in terms of years and starts pretty much in all of FCS, and they would probably go up there and rival some FBS teams as well. They returned their quarterback. They returned their star receiver. They returned a lot of guys on defense. And for Campbell to lead pretty much the whole game against the preseason favorites, a team that's now ranked 8th in the country, that tells you something. When you go back to the offensive side of things, this is a Campbell defense that held Rhode Island to 109 yards rushing. That is a phenomenal achievement against one of the most experienced lines in the FCS. On the offensive side of the ball, Campbell running game was really solid. Receiving-wise, they returned a local product from out there in eastern North Carolina, Northern Nash and Rocky Mount's own Randall King. He came up big in the receiving corps, and Campbell found another receiver that had as many catches as Randall King. They both had 5. A Duke transfer by the name of Spencer Jones. So many good things. Special teams was even good. It was a brand new punter, a brand new place kicker, a brand new long snapper, and Campbell hit a couple of field goals and had a really good day punting. You need all of those things to work together if you're going to have a chance against an FBS team like ECU. But I think against what is going to be one of the toughest FCS teams on the schedule this year, to play them like that in game one, I think says some good things about what Campbell may be able to do in the CAA this year.
Visiting with Chris Hemeyer, who calls Campbell football for the Camels, and 2 quarterbacks saw action. We had talked about Mike Chandler returning with some experience. Obviously, he was used in a variety of roles, Chris, and Camden Six Killer, what a name, by the way. He transfers in from McNeese State. He saw some action as well. So what can Pirate fans expect from these 2 quarterbacks this coming weekend?
Well, they're hard to scout, and Stephen, you have obviously done your homework to see that Campbell's now backup quarterback, Mike Chandler II, was the starting quarterback for this team at the end of last year because of injury. He was a dual threat, and such a threat that they don't want to take him off the field. He was out there for a lot of snaps. He lined up on the outside as receiver. He lined up on the inside. He lined up as a running back in the backfield, and then on a very successful touchdown drive that gave Campbell their first lead of the game in the first quarter. Basically, in the red zone, he ran out of the Wildcat. Very interesting, Stephen. We saw him run a lot of rushing plays and not really throw out of the Wildcat. But here's a guy that has a really good arm, downfield, and now that we've got him running a lot on tape, don't know if they'll pull it out against ECU, but he's a guy that you're really going to have to know where he is on the field. For Camden Six Killer, I'm glad you pointed it out, one of the best names in college football, transfer from McNeese State, where he was a starter there over a season and a half. So he has a lot of experience, looked rusty at times, a little bit tentative to throw the ball downfield, but you can bet he has shaken the rust off, and he gave them exactly what they wanted. But the thing that they're so happy about is they have two really good quarterbacks that they could trust to be the starting quarterback. But when you have Mike Chandler, you can put him out there, put him anywhere, and he really adds another layer and a big weapon to the offense.
Two former Pirates who played in the opener. Cameron Durant started on the offensive line for the Camels, and I thought that was a great move for him. Honestly, could have played here, I think, in a depth capacity, maybe started down the line at ECU, but it looks like he found a home at Campbell where he can play right now. And then also Logan Wright transferred in defensive lineman. Looks like he played a little bit in the opener as well. So what did you make of those two guys in their Campbell debut?
Yeah, you're right on. Campbell's offensive line was really young last year. They're not this year, and adding Cameron Durant was sensational. They gave their quarterbacks a lot of time, whether they were running out of the Wildcat or not. I think when Six Killer did get a couple of sacks, they were at the end of the game when Campbell was down by a couple of touchdowns and then passing downs each and every time they snapped the ball. So Cam Durant joins three returners and a guy named Jaden Colvin, who's the center. JUCO transfer out of California. The line looked really, really good. And on the other side, man, I was watching tape from the game last week, and Logan Wright's first snap, he is a load, man. 5'11", 310, the redshirt sophomore out of Greensboro, North Carolina. He's a Dudley guy, and of course he was at ECU. Man, he blew over the nose guard. And just from the nose guard position, he blew over the center and just got in the backfield and was really, really disruptive. So especially in the case that Campbell has a really good starter at nose in Raymond Macias, they can bring him off the bench and say, "You just go, big fella," and he certainly is. Let's say a size and a specimen that you don't see at the FCS level too often. So they both made big impacts, and as we talked about a little earlier, Randall King, that grew up just down the road in Rocky Mount. Campbell's a starting wide receiver, one of the best young receivers in the CAA. He's going to be wanting to make an impact as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember when Randall got an offer from ECU, and Blake Harrell talked about it earlier this week as well. They wanted him to play defense. From my understanding, he was a silent commit, but he wanted to play offense, so he ended up going to Campbell. So just what type of receiver is he? 6'2", 205, like is he a guy that goes up and gets it? Does he make plays after the catch? Just how would you kind of describe his game?
Yeah, all of it. He came on and got the majority of his yards. I think he ended up with close to 400 yards last year. Over 300 of those were during the last 5 games of the season. So he was one of those guys that was out there playing as a true freshman. He learned a lot from a guy named Sincere Brown that basically broke every Campbell single season receiving record last year. And as a guy that got a lot of money to go to Colorado to play to Dion. And so he learned under him, same kind of guy, a rangy guy that can go up and get it, that can beat you down the sidelines. And he really learned to be a receiver last year. So they're going to be counting on him to do a lot. He's an amazing athlete, Stephen. I don't know if you remember, but he was a sensational basketball player at Northern Nash. So much so that he I don't think he was supposed to do this, but right before his fall camp started, he was in a high school all-star game, and he would have been the MVP if he wasn't on the losing team. So he is that kind of athlete. He probably could play D1 basketball somewhere, but he's out on the football field, and Campbell is sure happy about it.
All right, Braxton Harrison, year 2 with Campbell as the head coach. Now, he was a college quarterback, but he has mainly coached on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously been a head coach a couple times before. What type of defense does he like to run? What can Pirate fans expect on that side of the ball on Saturday?
Yeah, he's a 3-4 guy, but what he'll do is show a whole lot of different looks in the secondary, and boy, does he really, really rely on his linebackers. You mentioned he came up as a coach's son, a D3 quarterback, and that's what he'll always say. So all these guys that are out here that are better than him, but boy, he did a he did a really, really good job coaching the linebackers when he was here. And you'll see pressure. They've got a couple of guys to look out at. A middle linebacker by the name of Logan Liverman. He's a Virginia guy. He was the third leading tackler on this team last year. He's got a grad student that began his career at Virginia Tech, and Lakeem Rudolph, and a key guy that was all over the place in the first game. Wears number 3, Kalen Villanueva. And if you want to talk about a line on the spotting chart in this portal age, he began his career at Illinois, was at Louisiana Tech, then Illinois for a spring, and then last year he finished his year at UConn. So a P4 talent, at least coming out of high school. He plays what they call the buck linebacker for him, and you'll see him roaming all over the place, giving pressure when he wants to, and he was a disruptive force. Had 6 tackles and recovered a fumble last week.
All right, last name for Chris Hemeyer, Campbell Play-by-Play voice. So the tough opener at Rhode Island. Now they get to go to ECU. They play at NC State on October 4th. They'll get 3 home games in between now and then, which I'm sure Coach Harris will be thrilled to return home. But house money situation here, much like when ECU went to NC State. They're going to be probably big underdogs. Just how do you think from a mindset perspective they approach this game and kind of go in? They can probably play free and easy, and there's not a ton of pressure on their side.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll learn a lot from this game. And as we mentioned, we're talking about a lot of guys that were either at ECU or grew up in Eastern North Carolina. This is a big chance for guys. I think one of the advantages that FCS teams do truly have in the portal era is they're not as shell-shocked going to big full stadiums like Dowdy-Ficklin against FBS teams with a whole lot of athletes and a whole lot of depth like ECU, because look, scattered through this roster, I told you there's guys that began their careers at P4s. There's guys that began their careers at FBS teams. Also, too, the stakes are even higher in these games for a lot of these guys on the field. Look, Coach Braxton Harris, when he recruits you here to Campbell, he's going to do everything he can to keep you here at Campbell. He thinks this is the place where he can get you into the NFL like they did with Julian Hill, who's a Campbell tight end who's beginning his 3rd year with the Miami Dolphins, has 31 starts. I mean, he's going to tell you he can get you there from anywhere. But look, there are some guys that if they have dreams of going to the FBS or to the P4, you better believe it, in the portal, they're going to put on their tape what they did against ECU, what they did against NC State, because that's going to be the true apples-to-apples comparison when you're really looking at guys. And so these games, in a way, Stephen, are even bigger than they usually are. Of course, you want to go in and David wants to beat Goliath, but look, there are some guys that want to prove that they can either get back to the FBS level or maybe they belong at the FBS level. So I think that's what makes it even more interesting in a year 2 where, as you said, Campbell plays 2 of these FBS teams. And like I've been telling everybody, I said, hey, this first 6 games of the schedule is so tough. You mentioned top 10 ranked Rhode Island. You mentioned the 2 FBS teams. Campbell has 2 pretty good SoCon teams and nationally ranked Western Carolina and Furman here at home. So Campbell's record might not look great in the middle of the year, but they might be a much better team, and they really might make some noise in the second half of the season.
He's Chris Hemeyer, Senior Associate AD at Campbell for Revenue Generation and Broadcast, and also play-by-play voice for Campbell football. Chris, we appreciate the time, man. I know you've been busy this week with the interviews, so thanks for taking some time on Hoist the Colors. We'll see you Saturday in Dowdy-Ficklin.
Hey, Stephen, I can't wait. Come on by the booth, and I can't wait to get back up to Greenville. Thanks again for having me on, man. Means a lot.
Will do, man. Appreciate it as always. That's Chris Hemeyer with Campbell football. All right, we'll get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show after this.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Loyal and bold, we're the purple and golds.
Yo, ho, ho!
And we're back to hoist the colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here. Been a fun show talking NFL. Pirates in the league. We're going to have a surprise guest here in a few seconds. I did want to answer Lane's question. He says, do we not get OC-DC pressers anymore? No, Lane. As of right now, no Baker nor Aldridge press conferences. That was done in the preseason a while ago, so maybe during a bye week, but as of now, that's not on the docket. All right, we've got a guest on the phone line. He's a Hoist the Colors intern. He's James Gilio. We're going to pick on James in a moment because he had a hot take that has since gone very cold. James, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be on the last 10 minutes so we can make fun of my tweet.
If only we had 10 minutes. We only have about 2, but it was on September 1st at 8:16 p.m. that James Gilio tweeted, quote, "Damn, UNC might be good." How are you feeling now?
Well, I mean, I watched the first drive. They looked good. Their quarterback looked good. And then I watched them get that 3-and-out on defense, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to fire up a tweet. And I didn't think anything of it. I tweeted, and then, I went to the bathroom, and then I came out, and they were down by 3 scores, and their quarterback got benched. So, really bad tweet, but I decided not to delete it. I'm just going to own up to it. Bad tweet.
Yeah, I mean, look, you just got to... We all have bad takes sometimes, James. You just got to let it ride. I see Brady Thomas, our former intern, has already added at Old Takes Exposed. So this one may live forever, and I've screenshotted it as well. So even if you delete it, I will remind you, just to let you know.
I'm not going to delete it because, I mean, they go 11-1, then I look like a genius. So that's what we're hoping for now, 11-1.
I like how you're hedging your bets there. Good job, James.
Hey, look, we all have moments we can learn from. It's part of the learning process. We got about a minute left. I just want to pick on you about that, but also I want to pick on you because you're a New York Jets fan.
Oh, yeah.
The Jets, they play the Steelers this weekend. Is there any hope for the Jets this year? Can they win this Sunday?
I do think they actually win this Sunday, but there's no hope for the season. So, I mean, it'll probably be 6-11, 7-10. I think their line is 6 wins, or maybe 5.5. But I'm not expecting anything. Receiving course too not good enough, and then I think our good offensive linemen might need arms surgery or something. I saw that this morning, so already off to a rough start. But I do think they win this Sunday.
I just realized Aaron Rodgers' first game with the Steelers will be against the Jets as a look at the NFL slate.
He's got like a full tour. He's got like the Jets, Packers, and all those NFC North teams.
Will you guarantee a Jets win over Aaron Rodgers?
Guarantee? I don't know about guarantee, but I do think they're going to win. I can't spew out guarantees anymore.
Yeah.
They get made fun of.
The guarantee thing is happened for the Jets, and it will live in Jets history forever. And he can't duplicate it.
And he's learning from his mistakes. He's not going to throw out any hot takes. All right, James, we're out of time, man, but thanks for joining us. We'll get you back in studio soon.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for letting me on.
Appreciate you, man. James Giglio.
I feel like his class schedule just like hinders him from being on this show. It stinks.
He gets out, I think, around this time, a little before. So we'll get him back.
He was walking back from class when I called him.
So he tweeted, UNC might be good. At least he said might be and not is very good. So it's not as bad as it could have been. But either way, we just had to pick on him about that. All right, we're out of time. Shout out to Philip Pilkington for his great work behind the glass. Also, thanks to Chris Hemeyer for his time as well, previewing Campbell, and everybody in the chat as well. Tomorrow we'll have Macy O'Donnell, Kevin Monroe, and ECU volleyball coach Adler Augustine. So packed show tomorrow. We'll see you then, 12 noon.